All right, guys, looks like we're going to get started here. I want to welcome everybody back to another session of our online training. Today is the 11th, and we're going to continue with our referee and umpire training. Leading today's training is going to be Robert Frazier, Jeff Wasserman, Michael Cooper, and Jeremy Epps. They did the first referee and umpire, and they're going to continue over the liftoff. Just have a couple of things, a couple of announcements. Number one, if you come on the call, please make sure that your video is off and that your mic is muted so that we don't interrupt the session in any way. Number two, it's more of a chapter announcement. Please make sure and go onto our website. And if you have not gone and back and watched some of the replays from our previous sessions, please do that. Also, as well as go to the upcoming events section and the announcements section. We have a golf tournament, I believe it's on June 24th, that is now open for registration. You know, that's all, of course, it's all depending on how the whole COVID thing transpires and, you know, whether it ends or it gets better in any way. But that is open for registration. So that's it for me, guys, for the announcements and stuff. I'm going to monitor the chat for any questions. There's a couple of people that are going to do that. So I don't know who's going to start, but Robert, Mike,
I'll kick it
Jeremy,
off.
Jeff.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'll switch over to you guys, okay?
Okay. All right. Thanks, Xavier, and good evening, gentlemen. Like Xavier said, Jeff, Jeremy, and Michael and I are going to walk through a couple of different phases of the game tonight, specifically the passing game and the scrimmage kicks. So we're going to be spending our time tonight in Rules 6 and 7. So if you have your rule books handy, that's where we're going to be tonight. I came across a quote, and I think that it really embodies what we're trying to do with these sessions. And it's a quote by Red Cashin. He's a familiar face with the Dallas Football Officials Association. But Red simply said that officiating a football game that lasts approximately 4 seconds is not that difficult. The difficult part is doing it 160 times in a row. And guys, what we're basically, walking through, and the reason that we're spending the time each and every week in the off season is really just developing that mental approach so that it's almost like muscle memory, so that we've seen enough plays, that we've talked enough, that you've mechanically gone through kind of a checklist in your minds so that we're prepared on Friday, Thursday, Saturday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday night, whatever night that we're officiating. But I thought it was really a great quote to kind of kick off tonight. It's about focus. And what we're going to be talking tonight, specifically around the passing game and scrimmage kicks, is really from a referee and umpire's position, is a lot about just focus, staying focused, making certain that we do and get into that pre-snap routine, making certain that we officiate the play and let the play come to us. So we're going to take it in, like I said, 2 phases. We'll start off with the passing game, and then we'll move into scrimmage kicks. So we think about prior to the snap, and this is the way that we've set up the template for each of our sessions, is just thinking about prior to the snap and during the play and following the play. And we'll talk a little bit about penalty enforcement that may be unique to that phase. But last week, when we had the deep officials talking about the running and kicking game from a deeps perspective, I believe it was Terrell Owens, Terrell Turner mentioned about situational awareness, and it really stuck with me that when we think about situational awareness from a referee and from an umpire's position in the passing game and scrimmage kicks, it's just knowing but not anticipating. I use this term in my crews and said, expect but don't anticipate. Meaning that expect a certain type of play but don't anticipate, because when we anticipate, we begin to prejudice our thinking. We began to see and to officiate maybe differently than we would. So we talk about, expect a certain type of play, expect the play to go off as designed, but don't anticipate that it will. Be prepared that it may not. So when we talk about that tonight, we talk about the passing game and the running and the passing game and the scrimmage kicks. Be thinking about that. So I'm going to turn it over to Jeff and Jeremy and Michael, and they're going to talk about this pre-snap keys and initial reads. So, guys, take it away.
All right. I'll talk about the pre-snap keys and positioning for the referee a little bit. I'm looking at the backfield players pre-snap between the tackles for false starts, possible illegal shifts, illegal motion. When the snap is imminent, I key the tackle on my side of the formation. I position myself in the throwing arm side of quarterback. And if it's going to be a left-handed quarterback, I'll usually communicate with the umpire to specifically discuss that, because even though he's watching the guards in the center, and it may not matter, he may still want to favor the other side of the formation if I'm going to be on the left side. So it's good to discuss that. Positioning-wise, I position myself 12 to 14 yards back from the line of scrimmage, a few yards outside where the tight end would be or is, about 10 to 12 yards lateral to where the quarterback is. I usually position with my inside shoulder kind of turned a little bit towards the quarterback, about 30, 45 degrees, so I can easily pivot. Watch the pocket as I fade back a few steps at 45 degrees on a pass play. And it also allows me to follow a sweep, an option play, or other running play towards either sideline from a good position. I don't want to just be facing straight ahead at the snap. I want to have a little sideways tilt to my body to help me go either direction. Referees, don't get too close to the action, especially if you aren't mobile. Give yourself a few yards. Don't get pulled into the play too quickly. Don't worry about the end of the play and getting the dead ball spot to help with that, or getting the ball in. I see a lot of referees in our chapter and other chapters during the playoffs get too close. This can interfere with the action and put you in harm's way. Jeremy, Mike?
Yeah, Jeremy Epster. I'm right at 8. I'm in a position where I can see the ball snap legally. I'm usually in an athletic position opposed to standing. I'm kind of like 80-20 there, but I don't think it really matters as long as you can get to a spot where you can see the ball snap legally. Make sure if you are counting, you signal. And we talked about it a couple of weeks ago. If you're holding up for a sub, your referee is going to get the count, and you're going to get back into a safe position where you can officiate. Make sure you've got your legal numbers 50 to 79. I count 5-3-3, so I know the 5 guys that are in front of me, and then I get the receivers and the people in the backfield. Make sure I have 11 on that one. Pre-snap penalties, we're keying in guard, center, guard. I think there was a question last week about whistle mechanics, and I think me and Coop kind of differ on this. I have a lanyard whistle as well as a finger whistle. My whistle is not in my mouth pre-snap, basically because I really don't trust myself. So I make all the movements as far as false starts. They have to be very, very big in order for me to see it, flag it, and whistle it, and, in that motion. So I don't have an incorrect call or something on a not so good false start. Being aware of defense, using disconcerting signals. The defenses, they're pretty crafty about what they say. If they say anything close to what the offense is trying to get to their guards, make sure you kind of clear that up with them or tell them before it becomes a problem throughout the game. I also communicate with the linebackers and safeties. Remember, we're there to observe the game, really. So if you're in the linebacker way or the safety's way, just allow them to feel comfortable with saying, hey, man, you're in my way, so you guys can shift to a different position. At the same time, being able to see the ball. Last but not least, make sure you're alert for late subs. I think Jeff and Robert, we talked about this a couple of weeks ago. If we've got a sub, we got the iron cross. We know that center's name. Make sure you communicate with that center. And like I said before, don't get right up on them like a yard in front of the ball. Make sure you're about 3 or 4 yards off, and you got your center's name. And then as soon as you get released from your referee, you can get into a comfortable position to officiate before the snap. Coop, you got anything to add?
I would just say so guys don't misunderstand anything that Jeff or you may be saying or whatever. So the thing about the communication as far as where the umpire is going to line up to, if it's a left-hand quarterback, that has nothing to do with the umpire. That's in 5-man what that is. But even in 5-man, guys, you want to get in a spot to where you can see a piece of that ball. It's regardless if you're on the same side with the referee or not, you still have to work that play regardless of where you're lining up at. But you want to make sure you get a good position to where you can see a piece of that ball. And the reason it's suggested, even for line of scrimmage and umpires, to start with the whistle in your mouth, is because if something happened, you want to be able to sound that real quick. And if you don't have it in your mouth, you're waiting an extra second to get it up to your mouth. And so when you have to kill a play real quick, it's just something that you just might have to learn. And so the mechanic that we've taught around the country is it's in your mouth, and when the ball snaps, you just drop it. And it's just something you just have to practice constantly. I'm not saying you need to do it, but if you want to have success at stopping things quicker, that's the best practice. And I'm not saying that's my way. I'm just saying that's just the national way of doing things as far as CFO, which all of you, everyone in DFO is a part of. While I'm saying that, guys, I do want to put out a quick fire. I or hopefully no other presenter want to ever make it seem like we know more about the game or anything like that. So if you catch one of us going in that direction, someone please pull the coattail back, because we're all in here trying to learn together. I don't know everything, but and so I appreciate when we step up there. And so like on 5-man, where it say 8 to 9 yard, I think it's 8 to 10 yards. But if you're comfortable at 11, if you're comfortable at 7, get where you're comfortable at. That's the main thing. Okay, that's it.
Yeah, I think it's a great point. It's a great. Go ahead, Jeff. I'm sorry.
Well, I was going to say the initial read immediately after the snap. Usually the tackle that I'm watching will tell me what play we have. And Robert talked about situational awareness. That's going to help us in advance. If it's 3rd and 10, good chance it's going to be a pass play, right? If a tackle shoots out, it's usually a run. If he pulls and fades back, usually a pass. If he lets the defender go quickly, expect a screen play. One exception that's becoming a little bit more common, and we're going to look at that, is the run-pass option play, when the tackle really doesn't know what he's got. So the quarterback's going to make that decision right at the snap. Is he going to let the back take the ball and run, or is he going to throw a pass? So the tackle usually pulls and fades back in either case, and we'll talk about that in a little bit.
Okay.
Go ahead, Robert.
Great segue, guys, into the we're going to kind of take the pass kind of into a kind of 2 phases, like Jeff mentioned. We've got kind of a basic, I'm going to call it just a drop back pass, maybe a rollout, and then the RPO that Jeff mentioned. I think it's important to note that what we're going to see on the following 3 slides is really, it's the same play. We just took different intervals of the play, and I thought it was really interesting to see how little and how efficient the referee and the umpire are in this play. It's not about moving and trying to get to a spot. Both the referee and the umpire in this particular play are really in great positions. I will point out one thing. Although the referee here, I think, is in great position, for me, I'm typically just a little bit wider. I use the hash number for myself. So in this situation, if we are in position 5, I might be at the 10-yard line out further, just so that I can have a little bit wider view, and I don't feel like as I'm getting straight line quite as much. But I think the most important thing that we're talking about is just get where you're comfortable, get where you can see, don't be on top of the action. But watch this play as it develops over the next few slides from the referee and the umpire position of how little they move, which allows them to stay focused, allows their eyes not to be moving, and they can see the entire play as it develops. Pre-snap, as Jeff mentioned, we're always taking the tackle on our side pre-snap. We don't know exactly what this play is. Although we're talking about situational awareness, this is 3rd and 11. So, I think that we can be thinking pass, but we don't want to anticipate. We want to be prepared for pass, but we don't want to anticipate. That's Robert Frazier speaking. And that when I anticipate, I sometimes get out of my routine. I sometimes and try to outguess the game itself. What I'm trying to do is to officiate the play that's presented to me. So be prepared, but don't anticipate. In this situation, I think the referee is in good position. I tend to be just a little bit wider here. Jeremy or Michael, from the umpire's perspective?
Yeah. So following the snap, we're officiating competitive matchups. Usually the center is going to be double block. Well, he's going to help with the double block. Just make sure we're looking at those one-on-one matchups. If it's a double team, most thing that can happen is like a personal foul, hands to the face. We'll stay with that, but we want to look at the one-on-one matchups because I think we have a slide coming up. If teams are offensive linemen that get beat, they're going to tend to cheat. On plays between the tackles, we're at the point of attack in front or around the runner / quarterback. Plays outside the tackle box, we're backside and we're alert to any and all fouls, chop blocks, offensive holds, clipping, etc. And I think we'll probably get into this more, but make sure we see the whole action, right? So like Robert said, we're for the most part, we're going to be stationary. And at the umpire position, you got to feel the play. We're not going to know whether it's run or pass because we're going to be focused on our keys. But we have to feel the play, whether we're moving laterally, whether we're stepping up, because we want to make sure we are clear of the wide receivers that are running the drag routes. Because, if you work the umpire position at all, turn my move. Go somewhere. If you work the umpire position at any level, there's a likelihood that you probably got hit once or twice, maybe 5 times. I think this year I was lucky I didn't get hit, but there was probably 2 years ago I got hit dead in the ribs. And I think, that was me because I just didn't feel the play. So, make sure you feel the play and when you need to move laterally and step up. Coop, you got anything to add?
No.
We good?
Yes.
Okay, great. So this is the same play, just we've moved the sequence up just a little bit. So now you see that the play has begun to transpire, and we're starting to see the pocket begin to form. So immediately as we read pass, the referee is going to take the tackle opposite him. So it's almost like a cup, if you will. You're reading that, and you're looking for control. You're looking for the hands in relationship to the frame of the body. And like Jeremy said, if he begins to get beat. And where the number one is, obviously there's just a lot of just non-action. It's a pretty clean, a lot of space, nothing really is going on. So at this point, without moving my feet, I'm going to turn my attention over to position number 2, where we've got some double teams going on. We have a defender. It's a little blurry, but a defender is beginning to break free of a tackle. Now, at this point, I might even my eyes might even take me to this guard who, if the defender begins to break free, he may have a tendency to want to go low. Now we've got the potential of a chop block. Again, I guess what I want to point out from a referee's perspective here is if there's no threat, transition your eyes from position to position. Without you never move your feet. This referee, and again the umpire, but specifically with the referee here, has not taken a step and has not needed to take a step. He's in good position. He has good eyes on the quarterback. Again, as the pocket begins to form, he's going to go from 1 to 2 and back and forth. As the pocket begins to collapse, you're going to start staying with those guys because now you're wanting to start thinking a little bit differently, and we'll look at that in just a moment. But right now, he's transitioning from 1 to 2 and 2 to 1, watching and just keeping his eyes, on the quarterback in those two actions. Jeremy?
Yeah, I like the arrows that you have pointed at the action, Robert, because that's exactly what we need to be focused on. Also, like Robert said, when that pocket collapses, I tend to step up because that's going to usually, if the quarterback is able to scramble, he's going to need that middle of the field in order for him to, gain any yards if he has that opportunity. So I would step up, try to get out the way, and open up my field of vision so I can see everything that I need to see. Also, like we said before, on those two guards in particular, if that guard's getting beat, he's going to grab, he's going to pull, he's going to take somebody down if his feet, aren't good. And that's something that we would have to make a quality judgment on. And I like this umpire's position because he can see everything that he needs to see and he's stationary. Like we mentioned in the last time we had a presentation, the more you move, the more your eyes go up and down. And if your eyes are going up and down, it's hard to be consistent with making judgments on any type of hold or chop or anything like that. So the least mobile you are, or the more stationary you are, the better chance that you have of being consistent on making judgments on plays like this. Cool.
Great point.
No, I'm good with everything.
Okay. So the final play in this sequence, excuse me, guys, went the wrong direction here. The final play in this sequence, again, the referee has not moved at all. He stayed there. The pocket is beginning to collapse, and as it begins to collapse, my mind shifts from now the action. Now I'm really focusing on the quarterback and that ball, because we have to, as referees, have to make a lot of split-second decisions on, is the arm motion going forward? And if it's going forward, does he have control of the ball? And if he has control of the ball and the arm motion is going forward and it subsequently comes out, regardless of where it lands on the field, we've got an incomplete pass. We want to sell that quickly, that it's incomplete pass. If you rule incomplete pass, get on your whistle and sell the call. If you don't, if you have a possible fumble, then make sure we've got beanbag mechanics and continue to officiate the play. But again, this is for me. I think the referee in this position, in this situation, is in a good position. I tend to want to be a little bit wider, and the reason I, in this very situation, would want to be just a little bit wider here is, I don't know if you, hope you can see my cursor, but this player right here is probably the biggest threat that I don't know if I can actually see from this position. Over here, I can have a more straight line into this, a more direct path in my field of vision is right here. We want to make certain that we've got hits on the quarterback, low hits on the quarterback, and arm motion is really what we're looking for. As it begins to collapse, that quarterback is all yours. Make sure, referees, that you do not take your eyes off that quarterback through the entire play, and then actually until the players and the colors begin to separate following the play. But during this play, lots going on. The pocket's beginning to collapse. We've got a lot of stuff going on. We've got a double team right in front of. We've got a potential hit on the quarterback from the front side. Talking, if the ball is away, we want to make certain that we're communicating that ball's away, and then really try to protect that quarterback. That's one of the things that I do, and again, we talked about this a few weeks ago, is getting to know that quarterback by first name. He gets hit here, he's probably going to look to you and probably in a little bit of disgust and saying, hey, help me out here. So I'm going to be talking to him saying, Jeff, I got you all night, Jeff. And then, hey, Jeff, as soon as you throw that ball, make sure you protect yourself. Don't just go limp, because some of those defenders, if they're right in the middle of that final step, they may hit you. They may make some contact with you. But I'm going to try to do everything I can to protect that quarterback all night long. Jeremy, Michael?
Yeah, the only thing that I would add, like you said before, the positioning of the umpire and referee are good. I think one thing I would do on this play in particular is I would probably take a step towards the left. So I clearly can see I think that's probably the center, with that other matchup on that other arrow. So I can see both of those matchups and not get, blocked in by one of the other players. But I'm pretty sure, I know this is just still shot. I'm pretty sure he was moving. But, you know, whenever you need to move to see another matchup, you know, make sure you do it so you can see it. I mean, if you get blocked in and, you know, you see the film the next day, the first thing you're going to be thinking about, man, I should have moved to be able to see that block. So whenever we can move, let's make sure we do it.
Good point. Good point. So
Yeah.
we're gonna kind of transition from a straight passing play here. Coop, anything to add?
I had something on my mind and I just slipped my mind. I know what it was. I was just gonna say, like what you're saying, what Jeremy is telling you guys, you can take a step from one side to the other to change your view. Also, if you're in that situation, you can just lean. Sometimes you can lean one side to the other, but you need to put yourself in the best position to be able to see those blocks.
Great point, Coop. So what we're doing is we're going to transition. I'm going to turn it over to Jeff, but we're going to transition from now this straight kind of a pass to, I think, a little bit more difficult play to officiate from a referee umpire, because it's you just don't know, and it's the run pass option. So Jeff, I'm going to turn it here and let you try to take us through this.
Okay. Yeah, so this, well, that's not it there. Here we go. This is the run pass option play that we're going to see a lot more of. They're using a lot in the pros and college game, and now we've seen it a lot in our game now too, and it's become more popular. As long as you've got a quarterback who can kind of read the defense, they're going to like to use it. So in this slide, you can see the quarterback's got a running back coming in. He's got the option to hand it to him. He does not hand it in this case. Usually the quarterback's going to watch, the second-tier defenders, so the linebackers or the safeties. Now, in this frame, I don't see either one of them coming up. I don't see a linebacker. I don't see a safety coming up. So normally in this situation, he'd probably hand it off because you've got one-on-one matchups in the box, and they're going to go with that. But, it's situational awareness. So it looks like it's 10 yards. I can't see the box on this one. Yeah, I don't know what down. Oh, 1st and 10. So I'm surprised they didn't run it, but they actually end up passing this. If you look at the top on the team A, number 6, he's going to do a little bubble play that he's going to go back to the 20 and look for a pass at the 20, and that's pretty common with an RPO. So the point being, look at the tackles. The tackles are fading back. The tackles don't know from their position, is it going to be a run or is it going to be a pass? So if we're keying on the tackles, initially on this one, the right side, then you're going to drift to the left tackle as the pocket forms. You're going to get fooled a little bit. Or the tackles are going to get fooled sometimes if it's going to be a running play like this might have done. So anyway, nothing much more to talk about the RPO there unless you guys want to say something. You can go to the next slide.
Yeah, I will add something with the RPOs from the umpire position. Hey, remember, if we're working pass and we have a lineman that's at 3 yards, I think as a chapter, we're probably not going to be consistent making that an IDP if we have a legal forward pass beyond the neutral zone, of course. Make those IDPs big, 4 yards plus, because if it's at 3 yards and it's when the quarterback releases the ball. And so we tend to get, lost on that because at times, we may not know. We're still working our keys. So make sure we make those, like, huge. Like, we see, like, a lineman, like, oh, man, this guy's 8 yards down the field. This guy's, at the big line, that's 5 yards. That's where we can be consistent with making those IDPs, especially with the RPO.
Yeah, let me tag in on that for a quick second. So I always say it's a reason why you should do everything, and there is a reason why I line up at 8 yards, because I want to be able to identify with my 3 yard and my 5 yard mark. So as this ball is snapped from the A25, I'm gonna line up on the A28. So if I'm 3 ticks past the big line in front of me, I know, I plan in my pre-snap mind that if those linemen fire out and they go past that 3-yard tick. That's why I don't move. I don't move much. I'll stay there, and if he make a step across that line, I'm gonna look at the quarterback and see what the situation of the ball is. If the quarterback still have the ball, as long as the quarterback don't throw a pass to try to make a completion in the field of play, I don't have anything. But if he throws the ball in any of those areas, I do have a IDP. Because, of course, if he throw it like he's trying to get rid of it and throw it out of bounds, by philosophy, we do not have IDP. And then the 5-yard mark, let me explain that while we're here. So I know then if a player gets within 3 yards of me, that let me know that he's got to block legitimately. He cannot block from the side. It's got to be at 10 and 2. So that's the reason why I do that. So you guys want to start thinking about things like that. It'll be hard to try to remember 28 and the 30. So I try to put those little things in my mind. So I don't know if it'll work for you. Some of you guys might be smart enough where you can remember those 3 numbers. But, just a thought on that.
Okay, well, here's the continuation of that play, and you see on top there, they did the bubble screen. The quarterback's about to throw it to to the receiver, so they didn't run this one. Just a little unusual play. If neither tackle threatens the quarterback, then you need to keep an eye on all the action around the quarterback. What are we looking for? And hang with me here because there's a lot to discuss, and we'll try to get through a lot of it using this slide. So keep an eye on the backs. Blocking directly in front of the quarterback on play action. Look for chop blocks, offensive holding with restriction, and block below the waist. Remember, the backs are restricted. They need to block 10 to 2. So we're going to be the one to probably see that if it's running from the quarterback. If the quarterback fumbles, all right? If so, was his hand moving forward? That's why we're on the throwing arm side. Did he still have control of it? If it was a fumble, or if the hand was moving forward, all right, then we have a pass and it's not a fumble, and the pass is ruled forward regardless of where it lands. So if his hand's moving forward, he gets hit, ball flies up in the air, and assuming it doesn't get caught, we have to watch that and not have an inadvertent whistle on that, but assuming it doesn't get caught, and it falls, 5 yards behind him upfield, you still blow your whistle. You got an incomplete pass if the contact by the defender caused the pass to go that way. Was the quarterback trying to bring the ball back in? The old tuck rule. Now, we're supposed to watch for that. And if he clearly has control when he's bringing back in and fumbles, you've got a fumble. All right, that's no longer an incomplete pass. Personal fouls against the quarterback. All right, we got targeting rules 913, 914 to watch out for. Blow to the head, that's not targeting. If he just kind of defender comes and chops down the quarterback's head, it's not really targeting. We're still going to have a personal foul. Forcible contact below the knees on a passer who's in position, passing posture with either 1 or 2 feet down. And be ready to rule on intentional grounding. We'll talk more about that. After the pass is away, I like to yell balls away and mentally count 1 to 2 seconds after. I do that the whole game, and I make sure the coaches can hear me too, so it won't be disputed. If your quarterback gets contacted at 2 seconds or beyond, it's an easy flag. Throw it for roughing the passer. I'm not good enough to watch the defenders know who's taking 2 or more steps before he hits the quarterback, so I just like to count, and I'll know if we've got something. Also, if you have a defender who kind of pulls back before he roughs the quarterback, go say something to him. Go say, hey, number 78, I saw that. Great job laying off. And I think we need to do more of that. If you see someone about to do a holding and he lets go of the jersey, go say something. Say, hey, good job, 66, letting go of the jersey there. A block in the back that they held off of. Anything. Another player trying to fight and the other guy doesn't go along with it. We don't always need to be the bad guy. We need to do more of that. That gets us more respect from players and coaches, I think, if we do that. Forward versus backward pass, not in this play, But if the pass is thrown towards the sideline, if you have a good look at it, I find myself not using that position because I'm fading back on pass plays. But hey, if you have a good look at it, you can help the head linesman or line judge, especially if you don't see him put an arm out either way, or they seem a little bit confused, and you know what it is, you can help them and help make the call on the backward or forward pass. If in doubt, it's a forward pass, right? As referee, need to work with other officials on illegal forward passes and intentional grounding. Several things to consider. Was the quarterback outside the pocket? If the quarterback's inside the pocket, is there an eligible receiver anywhere near the pass? And you're going to need to talk to your deep wing officials on that. So, don't be afraid to use your comm device in that. If the quarterback's outside the pocket when the pass is thrown intentionally out of bounds, did it cross the neutral zone? This happens to me. I'm sure it happens to you guys at least a couple times a year. Throw your beanbag down where the quarterback threw the ball. If in doubt, go talk to your wing official and make a decision. If you know for sure, you've got, intentional grounding, fine, throw your flag. But usually I find it takes a little communication there, and I'm going to throw a beanbag just so I have the spot for enforcement later on. Okay, Robert, I think we're ready for kicks. Unless there's something else.
All right, so we'll jump into scrimmage kicks, and like we've done every time we've talked about each of the different formations and stuff. Rule 2 talks specifically about the numbering exception, and I encourage you to take a look at that and read through it. And really, the ramifications of the numbering exception, obviously on kick plays, is so that we allows the teams to have a non 50 through 79 player in a lineman's position. Typically what we're seeing a lot of is that we're having really speedy backs, speedy receivers, athletic people that are the centers, especially on pump plays and stuff. But be thinking about this as the teams begin to come into formation. But the two things I want you to walk away with is that to get the numbering exception to have a legal scrimmage kick formation, two things have to happen. First, if it's a punt, you have to have one player at least 10 yards behind the neutral zone, at least one. So in any of these little, he's in a modified shotgun and then he tries to quick kick. Is it legal? Yes, but you don't get the numbering exception, and you're also not going to get kicker protection as though it were a roughing or running into the kicker. It still can't be personally fouled, but you're not going to get that protection. For field goals and tries, you must have at least two players, a holder, and it's really important, and a kicker 7 or more yards behind the neutral zone. We saw this a few years ago in one of my spring games where coaches were asking about different formations. They were trying to, look at some potential gimmick plays for the season, and they were going to run a swinging gate with just the kicker back, just one person. And they ran the play, and I said, Coach, you can't do it in this formation. You've got to have a kicker and a holder back. So that's just two things to be thinking about. The numbering exception we talk a little bit about, but I really encourage you to get into Rule 2, look at it, understand the implications of that, and then understand the definitions of scrimmage kick formations when it's a punt and scrimmage kick formations when it's a field goal or try. I'm going to turn it over to Jeff and Jeremy to talk about pre-snap routines.
All right, positioning. I'll be on the side facing the holder, about 10 yards wide. I usually go a little bit upfield as well, a few yards back. I just get a better view of the holder and the kicker together. I count team A, and I'll signal the umpire with open hands to my chest if team A is not in kick formation. Same as a punt. You still have to meet the rules of scrimmage kick formation for certain of the protection of the snapper and such to apply. Pre-snap keys, the tackle on my side as usual. I quickly switch after the snap to the holder and kicker because they're my responsibility for fouls, right? So I got to watch both of them. I'll be alert for block kicks. And after the kick is kicked, I'll yell balls away, again, trying to avoid any late contact. I find that works pretty well. And yeah, Robert and I were actually just discussing before we started this about who's got the goal line, right? If it gets blocked, is it the referee or is it the wings? And I think, that's something you should discuss with your crew. The TASO manual really isn't clear on it. So I think Robert thinks that's our responsibility to watch the kicker. We should kind of stay focused on the kicker. And if the kicker's running down towards the goal line and we're with them, fine, that'll take us there. Otherwise, our responsibility is making sure there's no personal foul against the kicker. I think that depends on the crew and kind of the athleticism of the crew and who's going to be able to be there. But I would just discuss that with the crew for sure to decide. Jeremy?
Yeah, I'm here.
Sorry.
Scrimmage kicks, here we go. I'll be about 5 yards, between 3 and 5 yards in front of the center. I'm usually directly in front of the center. I communicate with the defensive tackles to make sure they stay off my center. And I think if that rule from the NCAA passes, they can't even, line up on the side of the center. So just make sure that the center is completely void of players. For some reason, all kids on special teams and free kicks, they like to talk a lot of noise. So that's when you have to be your most active. With the side judge, I communicate with him to identify any potential leapers that we have, and I do it by number. So I'll say, hey, 7 leaper, 8 leaper, 11 leaper. And I think by now the kids kind of know, like, oh, he's saying that I can't leap. But I remember that first year when it was passed. Hey, what do you mean I'm a leaper? You talking about I got hops? Like, nah, that's not the case. Like, this is a rule that's in play that you can't go over beyond 1 yard and leap and attempt to block a kick. And so we make sure that we have those guys out there. Immediately after any kick, that's when you really have to get active vocally and physically and get between players. Because, I mean, for most of those players, that's their play. And so, if it's their play, they're going to go out there, there's probably a few knuckleheads that are going to say some stuff or do some stuff that may cause their team a yardage penalty. And anything that you can, talk them out of or anything that you can get in between, that's for the betterment of the game. And that's the same thing with the leaping call. That's a call that, if we talk them out of it pre-snap, they're not going to make the attempt. They'll probably take one step and get vertical and jump, which they can do, but they're not going to do anything silly like try to leap over the center and, go through the gap beyond that 1 yard mark. So make sure you're communicating with all the players, not just throughout, tries, just throughout the game. Make sure they know your voice and you're somebody that they can talk to if something happens. So,
Hey, Jeremy?
Yes, sir.
I think the NCAA may have a new rule this year. I don't know if we're going to have it that, you can't even have a defender lining up on the center just to.
Yeah. That's what I meant.
I think someone in the chat room was asking can you explain a little bit more details about what you'd permit the contact against the center and the timing of it?
Let me take this one, Jeremy.
You got to go.
Yeah, let me take this one. Okay, good question. Basically, like Jeremy was saying, we want to do preventive officiating and just tell them, hey, allow the center to make the snap, and that center get 1 second to get his head up. Here's the problem. The problem is we cannot let them hit the center in his head and neck area. That's the problem. Now, because some of these centers, they'll snap that ball and they just hold their head down there throughout the whole entire play. Well, they're not protected there, okay? Where they are protected at is after the snap, they should be allowed that 1 second to get their head up. So when I explain it to the linemen like that, I'll tell them, hey, don't hit my center, allow him a chance to get his head up. And then I'll even tell that center, hey, you can't hold your head down the whole time and expect protection. The other thing I would also like to say as a umpire and center judge in there, I like to communicate with my center judge. So I would usually say, this is my way of doing it, but you guys might want to do it different. So I usually will take like the lineman. I'll say like if 49 is the snapper. When I come out from being released by the referee, I'll come out and I'll say 49 is ineligible. So that way, that number is fresh in my mind. And while I'm doing that, my side judge will be saying, 3's a leap and 7 a leap. And if I got time, I'm going to point at the ones on my side as well. But I would expect my side judge to assist me with the 2 or 3 leapers that's potentially back there where we are. So that way, when I'm looking into the interior line, I'm identifying with an ineligible number, because we got a fire that break out. Then someone needs to know who was where. So if 49 number was to happen to catch a pass, then I'll be able to come in and help the crew out by saying excuse me guys, sorry about that. I'll be able to come in and say, hey, 49 was ineligible by number. And we'll get it right. So that's it. Hopefully that cleared it up.
Yeah. Yeah. Great point.
I'm sorry. There's one other question. The side judge do not help with the center. It's the umpire all the way. The umpire got guard, center, guard on this play. Okay, and the side judge gonna have that tackle in the end on his side of the formation. And Bruce might have to verify that, because I don't know if that's right, TASO, but Bruce can verify that. But I would think that the side judge would get the tackle in the end on his side.
I think the side judge is going to help more with the hurdling and leaping calls.
Hey, and one thing that I like to add, in our last conversation, we were talking about the pregame. During our pregame, we're talking not only to the centers of the offense, we're also talking to the centers of the snappers of the tries. So make sure we communicate, like Coop said. You give him all your restrictions or everything that you expect from him then, so he'll know once he snaps that ball what he can and can't do. And, if something happens, he can't complain about it, because we talked about it before the game.
That's a great point, guys, and good discussion on that prior to the snap. We're gonna actually take this kind of in 2 phases. I'm gonna take the field goals and tries, and Jeremy and I'll do that, and then Jeff will take the punts. But for field goals and tries, you think of these as just mirror images of each other. They're the same. They're just different distances. So in the prior to the snap for a referee, obviously, again, get in a good position. I tend to be a little bit wider than the referee here, again, just so that I can keep a wider field. But this guy is in a good position here. The other thing, this is just something that I've picked up on, but taking the end or the end man on the line opposite you prior to the snap is going to tell you a lot about, if he gets beat, a lot of times it'll look like he just got run over. But I've also found myself catching a lot of the reverse takedowns by looking there. A lot of times it'll look like he just got bull rushed and the defender just plowed him over. And in all actuality, what happened is the offensive player here grabs the defender and pulls him on top of him, preventing him from pursuing and trying to get around the corner to make that potential block. So again, pre-snap, I'm looking there. I'm just kind of glancing to see what type of a block that is. Again, a lot of times they'll just in a lot of our games, they'll just put their head on the hip of the man next to them to try to seal off that gap. I'll also look for, if he begins to stick in this situation, his right leg, and he over-exaggerates extending it backwards, I want to make certain that he doesn't try to lift that leg up. He's trying to make himself as wide as possible, which is fine. as long as he doesn't swing his leg, which at that point you could have a potential trip. So this is things that are going through my mind as I'm preparing for either a field goal or a try in this situation. I'm anticipating, a potential block, but again, this is prior to the snap. Jeremy, prior to the snap, field goal.
Yeah. Prior to the snap, like we mentioned before, I'm going to be about 5 yards off the ball, talking throughout the play. During that play, I'm not in an athletic stance. I'm standing up so I can see everything that I need to see. I don't know. That's just something that I prefer opposed to regular scrimmage play. You're working guard, center guard. You're making sure you get a good eye on the ball so you can see that snap. And throughout the play, well, pre-snap, also make sure if we do have a late sub, you can get to the ball and you can hold up that center. But at that space, if I'm already at 5 yards, I should know my snapper's name, and I can just give my snapper the hand to wait up for it. And then as soon as Jeff or Robert releases me, I can just point right at them, and they can continue on with the play.
Yeah, great point. One thing I will add, this is actually a field goal, as you can see that there's down and distance on the stakes. But if it's a try, obviously, as soon as the touchdown is complete, the 40-second clock begins. And I know in the pregame we were talking to our clock operators and stuff, but referees, if you find that play clock has started prior to when you're ready for it to start, just don't be afraid to pump it back up. It's our responsibility to make certain that we allow this play to take place in the way it should. We're not going to try to give too much time to the offense and penalize the defense, but we're also not going to penalize the offense for what I might term a quick count. There's nothing that's really gained in a delay of game for on a try. It's all about the efficiency of the game, and I think most teams are getting used to this. But I found that some of our situations, some of our games where, man, as soon as the guy crosses the goal line, man, the clock operator is almost immediately starting that clock, and it really should not start until I give the signal, or the signal is given that there's a score. So anyway, I wanted just to reiterate that. So now we'll kind of take a transition from prior to the snap. Now the snap is actually taking place. So again, on the left-hand slide, you see that, again, the referee, great position, has not taken a step either way. He's locked in. You begin to see the two guys are going to block or potentially block this kick. One of the things that, again, is from experience now that I'm beginning to learn is that instead of looking right where the ball was being held, I try to get my eyes just ahead of that, because that's what I call the blocking point, which is really where the potential blockers are actually aiming for. They've been coached well enough now in our level to don't try to take out the kicker, the holder, be out in front of that, because that's really where their leg's going to be coming. That's where the ball's going to be leaving the ground toward the goalpost. But transition your eyes to just at that blocking point. Stay focused throughout the entire play. Don't take your eyes off the kicker, even after the ball's been away. Sometimes you'll get a player who is, you see the ball away, and you transition to your field judge or back judge to see if it's good. Next thing you know, you've got one of the defenders who was potentially blocking, runs into the plant leg of the kicker or takes out the holder, and we've got no eyes on that. So that's your primary responsibility as a kicker holder there. Make certain that you keep good eyes on that throughout the entire down. Until you're satisfied that the players and the colors have separated enough. Jeremy or Coop?
Yeah, you're communicating throughout the down with your linemen. So after the kick, whether it be good or no good, go in there and break any type of scuffle that you have. Like I mentioned before, sometimes this is that only. Excuse me. This athlete probably has this one play, whether it be a try, a field goal, or a free kick. And, they tend to try to, do some extra stuff. Make sure you break up anything, get in between any opposite colored jersey. We've already identified our leapers or anything like that. So we're not walking in any type of scuffle that we see on this slide to the right. We're jogging in there and we're clearing up any type of action.
Okay, great job. One thing I did not mention just is that we have a legal formation. Again, potential kicker and holder lead 7 yards from the line of scrimmage. And if we do have a block, like Michael mentioned a moment ago, if we have a jailbreak, it's important. That's when we've got to know that we know those eligible by number, but we're ineligible by position. So if 49 is the center, he gets the numbering exception because we have a legal scrimmage kick formation, but he is not eligible to go out for a pass, and we have to know that. The deep officials or the wing officials oftentimes will not know that. It's the center, it's the referee and the umpire who have to communicate that via the comms. And what we do on my crew is that we just, like Coop said, we communicate just the odd one. So if 49 gets the numbering exception, is on the interior line, I said 49 is ineligible. That way, I know that if a 70 or a 50 number catches that pass, that we're gonna have problems. But if a 40 catches it, it's gonna probably, most people would assume that he was eligible because he's got that eligible number. But the referee and the umpire would know that yes, he was ineligible by position. And we always been talking about the center. He could be anywhere on the line, in the center of the two guards in the tackle position, so the interior of the line. So just want to point that out. So now we'll transition to the scrimmage kicks, punts, and we'll turn it over to Jeff to walk us through that part.
All right, just Robert went over the numbering exception. I saw there were some questions in the chat room about some of the rules. It's a little bit different for punts. So let me go over it again. I'll try to do a little slowly and make sure we're all kind of clear on it. So at least one player needs to be 10 or more yards back to qualify a scrimmage kick formation, or a potential kicker and holder at least 7 yards back. And it is obvious that a kick will be attempted. So if it's first or second down and they do it, that doesn't qualify. So you're not going to get the same protection for the snap or et cetera, if it's like first or second down. If all these conditions apply, you do have scrimmage kick formation. Then Team A can have fewer than 5 linemen numbered 50 to 79 on the line. The umpire will need our help watching for this and keep an eye on eligible players because they've got other things to do. Also, keeping his eye on the snappers, watching for leap and hurling, so they need our assistance. So if one of us can see that there's going to be a numbering exception, we need to communicate that with each other by your comm system. Also, again, if you don't have kick formation, put your open hands on your chest so both of you know they didn't qualify, they didn't meet the criteria. You're not going to have to worry about the center having that protection unless it's a personal foul beyond that he gets from contact for 1 second. If either the referee or umpire notes that the team does not meet the criteria, they should signal with the open hands. Again, just be sure we do that. Any player not numbered 50 to 79, an ineligible position may not be in the end of the line at the snap either. And like Robert said, if there's the kick gets blocked and someone goes out for a pass, we need to be sure they were in an exception at the beginning of the play. Let's see, pre-snap, routine, and positioning. I like to take a position on the kicking leg side. So I ask in the pregame coaches conference, in addition to is your quarterback right or left-handed, I ask, is your punter right or left-footed as well? Roughly 10 yards outside the kicker and a few yards behind them, with my body turned 45 degrees, so I can see the kicker and also watch the backs and the blocking. The umpire will mirror me in the opposite side. Count Team A, confirm you have proper scrimmage kick formation, again with an open hand if you don't, and look for numbering exceptions. And Jeremy and Coop?
Yeah, like Jeff said, we'll be in the offensive backfield. I like the original mechanic, but, I think when we're in the offensive backfield, we're kind of out of harm's way. We are looking for, initially we do have the center make sure we have a legal snap, guard, center, guard. But we're basically there, in my eyes, we're kind of looking for that leaping over the shield. And we have to make sure we know what is a foul or what isn't a foul. If they go vertical and they don't attempt to go over the shield, that's not a foul. If they go through the gap, that's not a foul. Make sure, like Jeff said, we're looking at the number of exceptions. And this is all prior to the snap. I'll kind of touch a little bit after the snap. If we have a clean kick, we're moving upfield and we're officiating that middle pond, just like we kind of would be if we were in front of the ball.
I just got one question because I don't know. What is the open hand signal and what is the purpose of it? I've never heard that term.
Yeah, it's just to, if they didn't meet, so if you don't have a player more than, one player more than 10 yards back hoop or two players more than 7, they don't meet the scrimmage kick formation criteria. So then you don't have the same rules that apply. You don't have the same, the center doesn't get the same protection, and that's pretty much that's the major difference there, because you still have leaping and hurdling if they end up getting a kick.
Okay, so no, I'm saying, what is the signal? Because you said you give the open.
Two hands on the chest, open hands in the chest.
Oh, okay. Okay, see, I thought that was, okay. All right, well, that's something new. Thanks.
All right, guys, I'm going to transition this. We're still in punts, and Jeff is going to kind of take us through this.
Yeah, so we just talked about keys and positionings. The referee and umpire should signal if teammates not in scrimmage kick formation, like we just talking about. Let's see, just one thing to note here. If you are on the end line and the kicker is deep in the end zone, be sure to warn the kicker. An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. I like to say, hey, punter, you're right near the end line. Don't step on it, or you're going to get a safety. So make sure his foot doesn't touch after he receives it. But again, I like to give him a warning. That's pretty much all we have here since we already discussed it. Jeremy, you have anything to say?
Yeah, I'll add this. Usually with punt plays, we do have big substitutions. So we'll be holding up on the ball. And I know we got a little bullet point about the center protection. Once we get that sub and we'll see that defensive lineman, make sure we communicate with him what we want to see and what the protection of the center is. And also, like we talked about before, we've talked to our snapper in the pregame, and we've probably, talked to him on punts before. And so he knows our expectations haven't changed as far as his protection and what he can and what he can't do.
Okay, after the snap, I quickly turn my attention from the tackle on my side and observe the kicker catch the snap. Did he catch it cleanly? And does his knee touch the ground? I mean, we've all seen that a couple times during the season where he comes close, and we try to give him the benefit of the doubt. But hey, if he muffs the snap and he bends down and his knee accidentally touches the ground, it's dead right there, right? So we got to watch that. I watched the blocking point, which is similar to what Robert was talking about in the tries. Basically, where the punter is going to end up kicking the ball, that's where the defenders are going to try to kind of converge on him. And that's where all the action is going to be at. Will the kick be blocked? Will it be roughing or roughing into the kicker? If the plant leg of the kicker is contacted, incidental force by any player who doesn't touch the kick, okay, it's roughing. If the kicking leg is contacted, we'll try to err on the side of calling it running into the kicker unless it's forcible, and then you got to call it roughing. I mean, if he gets knocked down, it doesn't matter which leg he hits, you got to have roughing. Robert's going to discuss that more in the next slide, I believe. Remember that the kicker is considered a defenseless player, so Rule 914 targeting comes into play during the kick and the return as well. Let's see. Go ahead. Jeremy, got something?
No, I think we kind of covered it. I'll be back there looking for leaping. Make sure you look in the rule book, you know what leaping is and isn't. After the punt, I'm looking upfield for any type of punt-related fouls. I'm not jogging or running anywhere. Like we've kind of said consistently, we're trying to move with purpose and not hustle, not hurry. It's a common phrase used in officiating. Make sure you don't pass any players. Make sure you see everything. You see the whole blocking the backs or something we can really get forward on. If it starts from the side, it can finish in the back. You know, if it finished in the back, make sure you see that it finished in the back, and opposed to saying, "Oh, I saw something," and throw the flag on it. So make sure we see the whole play.
I like to add just one thing that I like to. I've always liked to share with people on the best way to have success as far as officiating scrimmage kick plays. And that is, you need to know the colors of the jersey as to who's going to be returning this ball. Because if you look at the screen to your right, if you all of a sudden looked up, who's in the chase mode? You see what I'm saying? Because that's hard. So if you identify, hey, that pre-snap red foul, because they're the receivers, or red receivers, however you want to do it. Or you can just say red, just put that color. That's all I do is I'll just say a color. So I'll say red to myself, and now when I see this big blur here, I know I'm looking for red guys to be in the chase mode, to have a chance to pick up that foul, because you, like Jeremy was saying, you have to see the entire play. If you don't see the entire play, you're going to be guessing, because it might look like a block in the back, but it might be something that started on the side and it continued that way.
Great point, guys. You know, I think that one of the things that we were talking about, again, just discussing in your pregame with your crews, is if a punt were to be blocked, who's got goal line? You know, we know that on run backs, returns, we're doing push mechanics. The field judge, side judge will have the return all the way to the 2-yard line, and the head linesman, line judge will have it from the 2 into the goal line. On plays like that, long returns or blocks, remember that kicker, again, like we said before, is yours. If you begin to participate in a play and that your eyes take you there, he's now a player. He doesn't get that extra protection. If he's jogging off the field or kind of jogging around, kind of keep your eye on him. Make sure that someone that doesn't try to light him up with some type of unsportsmanlike foul. So we're going to finish this off with just, you know, we've tried to each section talk about, you know, penalties that are unique to this specific phase of the game. Penalty enforcement for kicking plays, scrimmage and kicks, pretty consistent with what we've already heard. You know, Jeff mentioned, again, running into the two differences really that we're looking for is forcible contact, either the plant leg or the kicking leg. One other is leaping. Remember that leaping is always an automatic first down. And it's a safety foul. We want to make sure we get this. Coop and I had a discussion about, a lot of teams that we see will have kind of a 3-man protection back there, and guys can come up and they can go straight up and try to block as long as they're going straight up. But if they get in and over the frame of the body of those protectors, then we have the potential for a leaping foul. Again, this protection, we've all seen it where those guys go end over end, and it's really dangerous. They can end up, landing on their head or shoulder, neck area, and be really a dangerous. So the writers of the rules are trying to obviously prohibit that and take that out of, phase that out of the game. So they've modified that now to say that the leaping occurs when you're over the frame of that potential blocker. Penalty enforcement, again, for Team A fouls. Remember that Team A fouls can be, other than kick catch interference, if they are fouls that are during the kick, can be added to the dead ball spot, to the end of the run. Team B fouls can, again, prior to the kick, so we have those like offsides. We have the leaping, it's a previous spot enforcement. most of our fouls, what we're trying to do, again, the writers of the rules have made it a little bit easier for us. Most of the fouls that we see now from Team B are going to be in the PSK category that are fouls during the kick. So essentially what we're using is the end of the kick is our basic spot, and then we're using 3 and 1 from there. So be thinking about that. You know, it's, again, as a referee, it's really important to know what phase of that play that foul occurred. So in your questioning to your crew members, if it's not your flag, you know, exactly what was the status of the ball when you saw the potential penalty occur or foul occur. Was it during the kick when the ball was in the air? Great. So now we're going to use PSK. Or was the Team B foul now during the return? And if it's a Team B foul during the return, it's like a running play. We're going to use the end of the run as a basic spot and use 3 and 1 from there. Fouls by both teams, we can either offset, or if we have fouls by both teams, but one of the fouls by B, or the foul by B occurred during the run, then they can decline the offsetting fouls and be penalized for their foul. So just some things to be thinking about. We said that we were going to kind of try to stay in Rule 6 and 7. Obviously, this kind of migrates over into Rule 9 and 10, but it's part, obviously, of officiating and being good officials throughout these 2 different phases of the game. That's the end of our presentation, I guess. Xavier, are there any questions from the chat group or any comments from any of the other presenters tonight?
One thing I was
go
going to
ahead.
add about that last slide too, just be careful about the penalties by Team B before the kick. So leaping, you know, over the blocking wall or contact against the snapper, offsides on defense, obviously, those are going to be enforced in the previous spot and may give Team A a first down.
Good point, Jeff. Yep.
Yeah, Robert, somebody had a question on the chat about who is responsible and when do you look for wedges on the punt? Excuse me, on the kicks.
So wedges are free kicks only. So we wouldn't be looking for a wedge there. But in going back to our free kicks from 2 weeks ago, the primary responsibility in 7-man, we talked about the referee probably has the best angle for that, because the short wing are going to have the goal line and forward progress. So as a referee, I'm trying to get my eyes up to about the 20-25 yard line. That's generally where those wedges begin to form. So make sure we've got all the criteria. 2 players or more coming together, yard of each other, making it concerted and working in concert together. But where our crews, what we've worked the best is that the referee probably is in the best position. If anyone sees it, obviously, but that's I think it's where the referee is going to be in the best position. Good question though.
All right, Jason, we answered your question, buddy. So appreciate you asking on the chat. If there's anything else that you guys need to mention or talk about before we kind of wrap this thing up, I don't think we had any more questions that didn't get answered on the chat. I think we did a pretty good job of monitoring that, so I appreciate that. The only thing I had was for some reason there was a little glitch in our platform today, and it only allowed about 100 people to log in. So we apologize for that. I will get it resolved by next week. Good thing is we are recording it and we are posting it on the website to our YouTube channel. So guys, thanks a lot, Jeff, Robert, Mike, Jeremy. We really appreciate the presentation you guys put on. You guys did a great job, like always. Guys, just please remember that next week we'll move on to our next presentation, which will be the short flanks, line of scrimmage, guys. So please tune in then. And I hope everybody has a great day, and thanks for joining in. Appreciate it, guys. Good job.
Take care.
Hey, Xavier, can you hold on
Yes,
just
sir.
a second? I've got a question
No
for
problem.
you. The size of this file, because of the pictures, got pretty big. So if I put this in a PDF format, you guys can post that on the site in a PDF format, correct?
Yeah, we can post it, but this gets recorded anyway, so it'll all be on there. But if
Okay.
somebody needs to access it, yeah, we'll post it on Ref Time as well.
Perfect. Great. I appreciate it.
Thanks a lot,
I'll
guys.
send it to you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Sounds good. All right, guys.